Hey guys, we're back. Okay, so we've got some interesting stuff to talk about today. I want to share a little bit with you. Like last week for me was like almost an emotional disaster. But this week I want to talk about something a little bit different. I want to talk about my journey with Xyngular. And it's an interesting journey, and it goes back to, I'm going to talk about a little more about where I came from. But I want to share with you like how we got to where we are, and how we became successful. And I say we because Danny does this business with me as well. And we wanted it that way. We wanted this to be a shared venture and a shared journey, because our weight loss journey was shared too with this. So back in let me just go back just a little bit. Okay, before I met Danny, most of you know, if you've been following, I was a single mom, um, two kids, gosh, working full time in retail. Both of my kids' dads were in prison. I was on food stamps, uh, CHIPS insurance. My grandmother paid for daycare for that year because I didn't have any child support coming in. My mom helped pay for some groceries that food stamps didn't cover. But, I was still working my butt off, right? But at the time, I was only making like, I don't know, maybe $14 an hour. And that wasn't enough to raise two kids. So, this kind of success coming from a place where I've been at that bottom of the barrel, so to speak. I mean, I guess I don't guess. I know I'm very fortunate that I had family that helped me. Um, and a lot of people don't have that. But that was tough for me. That was really tough. Um, so this tape is itchy. I have a microphone under here, and the duct tape's a little itchy on the skin. The skin's a little sensitive, so sorry about that. So here's the thing. When I started, I was watching a friend of mine on Facebook. Her name's Christine, and she's actually my coach now. I love her to pieces. Um, Gosh, and there's a little backstory to that too. But I want her to be a guest on here one day. So yeah, we'll share that. We'll share that story later of how we met. So I got started. I was watching Christine on Facebook, and she had posted that she wanted to lose 40 pounds for her birthday, and she wanted to zip line, and she had to be under the weight limit to zip line. So that's why she lost the 40 pounds. And I was like, okay, this girl can do it. I can do it too. So I talked to her girl, and she told me the cost. And I was like, OMG. There is no way on God's green earth that I'm spending that kind of money. No way. Like, I have four kids at home. Like, I'm not touching my savings account for this. Uh-uh. But the more I thought about it, um, the more I wanted to do it. But like a total tightwad, right? I don't like to spend money, and I surely don't like to spend money on myself. I don't mind spending it on my kids and my family, but myself is a different story. So my neighbor, she actually had ordered it and never tried it and never opened the box. So her and her daughter were going to Vegas, and she had like uh, an ultimate system and a daily essentials kit, and she was ready to sell it to me for cash. So her and her daughter could have cash. I think they were going to a concert or something like that in Vegas, right? So I hope I'm not boring y'all yet. I promise you, there's good stuff coming. So I got started with the kit, and Christine, I mean, bless her heart, she had so much patience with me. She was pissed, right? I mean, she'd been talking to me for months, and I went and got it from my neighbor, and Christine didn't even get any she didn't even make any commission off of that, nothing. And I asked her, I was like, would you be willing to coach me? And out of the kindness of her heart, she said yes. Um, so I got started, and y'all, I am a junk food junkie. I have the palate of a 6-year-old. When I started this, there were two vegetables on the list that I would eat, and it was green beans and lettuce. That's it, right? So I don't remember how much weight I was down by day 3, but I knew that I didn't measure my body because I didn't think it was going to work. I had it marked on my calendar when I was going to send it back because there was a money back guarantee. And by day 9, I got on the scale, and holy shit, I'd lost 10 pounds in 8 days. But not only did I lose weight, I have no idea how many inches, but I felt good. I had energy. I was sleeping better. I wasn't bitchy. I wasn't in a bad mood. My feet weren't swollen. My gut wasn't swollen. There's a lot of changes just in that 8 days. And it was enough to think, God, I can do this, right? I can totally do this. So I kept going. Had a cheat meal. Oh my gosh, let me tell you about this cheat meal, right? And remember, I have the palate of a 6-year-old, okay? So my first cheat meal, I was so sick after I ate this cheat meal. I remember being at work and I went for my cheat meal at lunchtime. So that's the best time to have a cheat meal. So you have the rest of the day to burn the calories off. So I hit the trifecta, okay? I went to Sonic and got cheese sticks and marinara sauce. I went to McDonald's and got a cheeseburger, okay? Oh my God. And then I went to Whataburger and got French fries and their ketchup. Like it was the perfect trifecta meal, right? I was so sick after I ate that. About 30 minutes later, I was in the bathroom. It was awful. But it was good, right? I thought it was worth it, and I felt like crap after, and I was like, maybe that wasn't worth it, right? Christina tried to talk me into, share your story, share your story. She could put it on Facebook and stuff, put it on social media, and I didn't. I was like, look, I have been in MLM before. We did Stream Energy, Ignite, and we did well in that for the most part, but it just wasn't my cup of tea. I'm not a salesperson, right? That's not what I want to do. I want to help people, and that's what I feel like I get to do in Xyngular more. Like I don't feel like I sell anything. I feel like I share my story and I offer people an opportunity to do what I've done. That's it. So, man, about 2.5 months in, I decided to share my story. I was down 25 pounds and I was feeling pretty dang good. Like, I was like, okay, this is happening. Like, when I started this, I was 252 pounds and I was a size 20. I was busting out of a size 20. Like, I was about to have to go buy size 22s. I had been to my doctor previous to this and gotten my checkup done. And he took me in his office after he looked over my blood work, and he's like, we need to talk about metformin. And I was like, oh, hell no. You're not putting me on a diabetic medication. It's not happening. I'm not doing it. Like, I love candy. I love sugar. I'm not going to have that taken away from me. My cholesterol was out of control. My blood sugar was out of control. All of it. It was just too much because I was so overweight. And, for so long, I called it happy fat. It was comfortable fat, right? But I was uncomfortable. And being uncomfortable, like, oh God, I remember sitting on the couch watching TV and like I had this like roll under my chin, and like I could sit and watch TV and I could feel it, right? And so I'd lift my chin up and I'd rub my neck down to try to like roll the skin down, right? And I was like, this is gross. Like I can't keep doing this. I've never been this overweight in my life. So once I was down the 25 pounds, sorry, I kind of squirreled there, but yeah, I think y'all are used to it by now. Once I was down the 25 pounds, I posted some pictures on my social media and my shit blew up. Not even kidding you. Like, here's the one thing that my friends know about me. My friends know that I'm not going to promote anything that I don't believe in and that's not actually working for me. And so my phone blew up. It blew up. Everybody wanted to know what I was doing. My Facebook blew up. It was crazy. So in September of 2016 is when I started. it was like a couple of weeks before my 40th birthday. December of 2016 is when I had my first new customer, my first customer ever, right? And then in, I don't know, I guess it really started getting real serious in July of 2017. I was busy with this. Like I was and in the beginning we did a lot of phone calls. We didn't have what we call like fast chats. We have a way that we chat with people in Messenger or Instagram messaging or whatever. So we did a lot of phone calls. So, Danny and I talked about like, okay, what are things that he can take off of my plate, right? Because this is like a partnership. Like he sees the potential in this, right? And by that point, we had already earned a few trips, right? And I want to talk to you about the trips that we've earned too. I actually wrote a list because I was like, I can't remember everywhere that we went, so I made a list. But we'd earned a few trips, and Dave was like, okay, I see the potential in this, right? I see the potential with this company. I see the potential sitting down with Curtis, and who's the CSO of the company at the time, and seeing the numbers. Like Danny's a numbers guy. So we talked about what was worth trading, like what were things that I was doing that he could take over so that I could focus on income producing activities, right? Grocery shopping is not an income producing activity for me. Most of the time, cooking is not an income producing activity for me. So, and that came a little bit later, but I would get home from work, work all day, and I'd, work in the nooks and crannies on my phone every day, and check on people. I had a pretty cush job, so I could check in throughout the day. And so, um, I would come home from work and I would sit in my office, and I'm not kidding you, y'all. I was in my office for probably like 6 to 9:30, 10. I mean, take a break, and after dinner I was in my office, and I would kiss my kids goodnight. And Danny and I talked about like this short-term loss, long-term gain. Like, what are you willing to do for a few years of your life that most people aren't, right? That's what an entrepreneur does. They're willing to do the things that most people aren't for a few years, right? To get ahead. And so that was a discussion that we had. And listen, there was a time um, that this took up a lot of time, and it became a big priority for me because I love what I'm doing, right? I'm a bossy person anyway, so I love telling people what to do and how to do it. But that's the thing. This is also helping people, and I have a servant's heart, and I'm just a helpful person anyway. It's hard for me to tell people no. Um, so I remember driving in the car one day, and I had typed out a message to my upline and said, "This is not worth losing my marriage over. I'm going to have to be done with this because, I mean, my kids got the attention, right? But Danny always went on the back burner, and I don't know if you've ever read the love languages, and I'm squirreling here, but sorry, this is kind of how all this processes in my head. Um, if you've ever read the 5 love languages, Danny's number one love language is physical touch. My number one love language is quality time. So we're very much on different like ends of the spectrum on that. If you've never read it, it's a really great book. But man, so he stopped me from sending the message, and he goes, "Don't send that message." And I said, "Okay, then let's figure this out. Let's figure out what the boundaries are. Let's figure it out." So I had to like get a schedule and a calendar and like block out time. And there was a time that Danny actually like opened, like everything was like handwritten back then. Right now my calendar is digitized and everything, but everything back then was like handwritten. And he would like write in, like he would mark out time, and he'd be like, "Time with husband, period," right? And it was cute when he did that stuff. It annoyed me a little bit, but it was cute, and I had to make that time for him, and that's hard for me because I'm such a workhorse and I'm so driven. Um, it because I love it. That's the thing, right? I feel like I've digressed just a little bit. So anyway, So we've shared our story and things are going good. We've worked things out, how we're going to handle things. Danny does a lot of the grocery. Danny does all the grocery shopping now. He does a majority of the cooking for sure. I can tell you that. Um, and he takes on tasks like things that we would have had to hire an assistant to do at this point because they're the little things that have to be done. He actually takes over all of those things. So I'm very fortunate to have him on my team as us as partners with this because I couldn't do it without him. And the team loves him too, which is awesome. I mean, sometimes he's kind of an asshole, but for the most part, he's got everybody's best interests at heart, and he wants everybody to have um, he wants everybody to have an opportunity to make money and to do better for themselves, and so it's good. It's a good balance for the most part. So let's fast forward a little bit to May of 2018. Actually, let's talk about January of 2018. The company that I worked for was a CPA firm, and we found out that there had been someone in the company that had done some embezzling. And at this time, we had built a new office. Like the bookkeepers were separated from the CPAs. We had our own office. It was swanky. It was brand new. It was nice. My office window looked out to like this beautiful creek in the woods. I mean, it was just, we had TVs up in the corner. Like I could watch Judge Judy in the afternoons. I mean, it was great. And it was a great company to work for. And so what they started doing was moving all the bookkeepers. Like because of the embezzlement, they couldn't afford the rent in that new place that we built. So they moved us into, or they started moving all the bookkeepers, and we're talking about cramming in cubicles in a one big room after being in our own individual, 300 square foot offices. Maybe not that. I'm exaggerating. They were about 150, 200 square feet, but they were pretty big offices. And I had an office at home. So I suggested, because I'm a self-starter, I'm a self-motivator, like I don't need a boss standing over me to tell me what to do. I get my work done. That is just me because I like to check the boxes. I like to make sure that my things are done at the end of the day. That makes me feel good about myself that I've accomplished something, right? So no one ever had to stand over me. So I was like, well, I have an office set up, I could just work from home. And they're like, okay, let's do that. So I started working from home in January of 2018, and that was great. I mean, I got up every day. I was still able to work my Xyngular business. It was kind of crazy because I had like my Xyngular office and desk on one side of the room and my bookkeeping office and desk on the other side of the room, and it was kind of crammed, but it was kind of cool. I would like switch chairs throughout the day. It was a little crazy. Um, but I enjoyed working from home. I mean, it was nice. Um, and then in May of 2018, May 2nd, I went to the day after Danny's birthday. I went to the office and my boss said, hey, I need to talk to you for a second. Now, let me back up. In January, I had asked my boss, do I need to start looking for a job? Like, what's happening? Are we okay financially? Do I need to start looking for a job? She's like, no, you don't need to start looking for a job. We're totally fine. Everything's going to be fine. You're good. And I'm like, okay. I believed her. So I didn't look for another job. Hindsight, I probably should have, but this was a really good job. I mean, I was making more money than I'd ever made in my life at this company, and they were good to you. So May of 2018, May 2nd, I walk in and she says, I'm sorry, but we're going to have to let you go. Excuse me, what? I have 30 sets of books. I have 30 companies that I do the books for. Who is going to possibly take over that efficiently? And they're like, well, here's the deal. The girl that we were going to lay off, like, it was just one of those situations where she was older. Her husband was disabled. and it would be harder for her to find another job. And they knew that I was doing well with Xyngular. Like I would walk in and be like, oh my God, I made $4,000 last month. Like seriously, right? I was making more money at that time with Xyngular than I was my full-time job. And that was a year and a half into doing this business. I was making more money with Xyngular than I was my full-time job. That's mind blowing. So I was basically making double income. So I left there in tears, right? And it was weird because these people, like, this was a layoff, right? And they were like, we're doing this because we know you're going to be just fine, right? You're already making great money with what you do. You're going to be just fine. And it's the weirdest thing because none of those people have ever spoken to me again. And I still don't understand that because I wasn't under the impression that I did anything wrong. There was this cheeky asshole that worked there, though. He was like the IT guy, and he was super arrogant. Then this probably doesn't matter to the story, but I'm going to tell you anyway. I think that he might have had some kind of like spy camera in my house, like when he set up my computer stuff. I don't know. Maybe they saw I was still doing Xyngular work, but they knew I was doing that anyway and didn't care before, right? So why would it be a big deal now? So I never understood why they never spoke to me again because I wasn't under the impression I did anything wrong and I wasn't fired, right? Um, so Danny and I had a conversation. I left crying and I called him and I was in tears. Oh my God, I lost my job. What are we going to do? And he's like, hey, it's okay. Everything's going to be fine. He said, now you can spend time doing what you love. I was like, okay. So I called my coach, Christine, and told her, and I'm still in tears. And she's like, hey, it's going to be fine. Guess what you get to do now? I'm like, what? And she's like, you can be a swim mom. Holy shit, I can be a swim mom. Gage is in swim. He is killing it in swim. And I was having to like take off work to go to swim meets or get him to swim meets and things like that. And I never could make it to practice in time. And I would have to make up time and get there, early to make up time and not, you have to use my vacation time. And that's just, ooh, that shit is no fun at all. Like, ooh, I don't ever, ever, ever want to have to go back to working for someone again. That makes my skin crawl. Like being on someone else's time. I like having like the time freedom that I have now. So my Christine sent me a t-shirt like a couple of days later. She had like this purple shirt. Purple's my favorite color, and she had this purple shirt with swim mom across it, and I have worn that shirt so proudly. And I bawled my eyeballs out when she sent me that shirt because it meant the world to me. I mean, that's the kind of community we are, right? We lift each other up in whatever's happening. And they were right. Everything was okay. I got busy. I started working this like a full-time job, right? I mean, I feel like I kind of always did in the beginning too, but maybe not quite a full-time job. But I started working a full-time job. And in 6 months, we doubled our income. And I didn't go back to work. And I haven't been back to work since May of 2018. This is what I've been doing full-time. You guys, if you don't have some sort of second stream of income, that's a choice. I hear from people all the time, I don't want to be a salesperson. I'm not a salesperson. It depends on what you're in, right? If you're in makeup, there's all kinds of things that give personal aspects to it, right? A lot of it is sales. But this isn't like cold calling and knocking on doors and things like that. It's not like that. It's very different. And which is why I liked it, because people come to us looking for info, right? I hear from so many people, I can't afford it. Okay, what do you have to sell? What do you have to sell in your closet? What clothes can you get rid of? What's in your garage that you can sell to get started with this? Because being broke is a choice. It's a choice. It costs less than $500 to start your own business with Xyngular. Being broke is a choice. Okay. Um, I'm just gonna. It is. If you are willing to work and willing to give that time and give up TV, I found an interesting fact out. People lose $50,000 a year just by watching TV, because instead of watching TV, they could be building another business and another stream of income. Think about that. $50,000. What would your life be like if you made an extra $50,000 a year? Are you freaking kidding me? Seriously? Think about that. Okay. So in the interim of making this money, we earned these trips, right? And that's one of the things about Xyngular is their passport program and what I love about it so much. There's a trip that you can earn every year. It's called Founders Club. And it is a trip for all-inclusive, flights and all, for you and your spouse. It's 5-star. It's like 5 days, and you can earn extra days. It's like movie star stuff, right? I mean, we've been to some incredible places. So one of the first trip that we earned was Sundance, and that was in the Robert Redford Resort, what used to be the Robert Redford Resort in Sundance, Utah. Crazy beautiful there, right? I loved it. And I'm not a snow person, but it was beautiful. Then we've been to Park City, which is a ski resort, which is incredible. We earned a cruise that went to, Costa Maya, Mexico, Cozumel, Mexico, and Grand Cayman Islands. Mr. Sancho's is my favorite place in Mexico. That was the coolest place ever. Grand Cayman, we went out to Stingray City, and we swam with the stingrays and snorkeled. And most of you know that I'm scared to death of sharks, but I wasn't really scared in that water because I could see everything around me. Like it was like a dream. It was so beautiful. We earned a trip to Panama. Then we earned a trip to Dubai once we hit executive. Dubai was incredible. I mean, seriously, Dubai. I'll talk about that trip more one day. But that's like a dream come true. And like I said, everything they do is 5-star. So it's like we stayed at the Atlantis Palm, or the Atlantis Hotel on the Little Palm. And that was probably the swankiest hotel I've ever been in. Like, it had a freaking doorbell. Like that was the first hotel room I'd ever stayed in that had a doorbell. Crazy town. Okay. We earned an anniversary cruise. We've been to Mexico, the Dominican Republic. We earned another trip, like my mentor trip, so I could go in and teach some of the new people, the up and coming people. And we got to bring our kids, like 2 of our kids, on that trip. And we took them snowmobiling at Daniel's Summit. Like, we snowmobiled for like 4 hours that day, and it was the coolest thing. I tried skiing that weekend, and that was a disaster. They almost had to call the rescue people to come get me off of the bunny slopes. I said some really ugly things to that ski instructor. So, Scott, if you're ever hearing this, I am so very sorry that I said those ugly words to you. I don't know what happened, but like, the fear took over. That was a disaster. Like, I hate to ski. It was awful. We've earned a trip to Bora Bora. We have not taken that trip yet. And then, some things that we've done on our own, just because we had the money to do it, right? We had a trip planned to the Grand Cayman. And then that was right before everything shut down, right? For, a cold. And then we went to Belize a few months ago. That was an interesting trip. The 30A in Florida is incredible. I took Gage on a little mom and Gage trip to Sanibel Island. We, on a whim, got a flight on like the day before New Year's Eve to go spend it in Park City with a friend of mine and mentor, Shay and Art. I mean, the thing is, like, I would not have the opportunity to do these things without Xyngular. Like, where would we be, right? We'd still be working and living paycheck to paycheck and struggling like we did before. But I made a choice. right? And I took an opportunity and I trusted someone and I did it scared and I got out of my comfort zone and look where it got me. I mean, 6 years later, we're still here and I'm still working from home full time, like working from my swimming pool in the summer and my bathtub in the winter. One day I'm going to have a bigger bathtub. It's going to happen. But that's a whole nother remodel story later. But here's the thing. I wanted to share with you just a little bit about our story and our growth and things like that, like the things that we've been able to experience because of Xyngular. And let me tell you something else as a single mom. There were things that my kids wanted to do that I couldn't give them. They didn't get to go to summer camp. I couldn't afford it, right? Unless there was some sort of scholarship that the church was offering. My kids didn't get to go to Pine Cove or Sky Ranch, or I think Gage went to Sky Ranch once, and it was because they were offered a scholarship. It's the only way I could get him to go. I could afford for him to go. When Gage came to me and said, "Mom, I need to get a letter jacket," because he lettered in swim as a freshman, I was like, my first instinct was, oh shit, those are expensive, right? And then I remembered the position that we're in. And I just said, how many do you need? Y'all, to be able to say something like that to your kids, it's worth every freaking hour that I've spent with other people, helping other people better their lives, whether it's physical, whether it's financial, whatever. To be able to say that to my kid was worth every hour that I've sacrificed in Xyngular. Short-term sacrifice, long-term gain. What do you want out of life, right? Do you want to just sit and watch Jeffrey Dahmer? That's a waste of time. You're losing money. You could start something now. It doesn't matter if you're young or you're old or whatever you are or wherever you are in life. Oh, I'm too busy. That word is the biggest cop-out word on the planet. I'm busy. No, you're not. You make time for the things that are important to you. Period. End of story. Everybody's busy. I hate that word, right? When I started this, let's talk about busy, okay? When I started this, I had a full-time job. I had a part-time job on the side. I did the books for a guy that, oh my gosh, I practically raised him from like 23 to 30. I did his books for like 7 or 8 years. Great guy. But I had a full-time job. I had a part-time job on the side. 4 kids, all in activities. We had band, we had karate, we had jazz band, we had swim, we had everything, right? 2 dogs, a husband, a house to clean. Like, I didn't know how I was going to actually put this on my plate. But God made a way for it. He made a way for it to happen. That's the thing, right? He made it happen. And he gave me that free will to choose that path. So when I chose that path, look what happened. So all of you that say, I'm busy, I want you to sit down and add up how many hours a week you watch TV. And all of you that say, I can't afford it, I want you to look at your bank statement and I want you to add up how many things that you bought, eating out at lunch, Starbucks, frivolous gas station stops, things like that, right? Add it up and tell me that you don't have extra money to spend on your health, because what I will tell you is that money that I spent up front changed my life. It changed my health. It changed my finances. It changed everything. So it's possible. You just have to want it. You got to want to do it. And if you don't want it, then that's fine. That's your choice. But don't bitch about what you don't have because you're not willing to do something about it. Okay? That is the biggest takeaway I hope you get from this. If you're not willing to work harder, don't complain about the things you don't have. Okay? Seriously. Everybody has a choice. You have a choice. You can. If I can lose 75 pounds and listen, let me tell you something, it's October. I have not gotten a bag of candy corn yet. But just thinking about it, my mouth is watering. I'll get some candy corn. Don't worry. But if I can ask one thing of you really quick before we end, we have an event, Zingfest, coming up this week. Pray for me. Just say a prayer. And I know this probably isn't going to come out to the next week, but you can pray anyway, right? I am so excited because I get to speak on stage for the first time at one of the big events. I've spoken at our regional trainings. I've spoken at our leadership conference, but this is like the big mama jamma, right? And I get 15 minutes and I'm so excited. I cannot wait. I can't wait to see my team. I can't wait to hug their faces. And all of us get to be together as a community and spend time. We have a huge group of us going to dinner Friday night. It's going to be a good drive for Danny and I, and I'm excited about it. So just pray that God gives me the right words to say when I'm up on stage. I mean, I have slides and stuff, right? But ask him to control my unfilteredness a little bit too. You guys, you can be anything that you want to be. You just have to put some effort into it. And you got to do it every day, whether you want to or not. It's part of the sacrifice that you make. But those sacrifices of a few hours every day that I make, I get to do what I want, when I want with my day. I don't have somebody telling me when I can take off work, what time I can take lunch, when I have to clock in, when I have to clock out, what time I have to make up. There's no commute for me. There's no drive to work every day. I can work in my pajamas. I can work for wherever I want to in the world. Why would you not want that? Sure, there's some people that don't. But why would you not, right? What's your plan B? Anyway, say a little prayer for this week. Thank you for listening. I hope I didn't bore you too much, but I wanted to share the story of why we are where we are because I'm going to have some guests on in the future that are success. They're people with success stories with Xyngular, and I want to share those with you. So anyway, peace out, homies. You can find us on, oh my gosh, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube. Shout out to Kimber Creek Media for the studio time. We appreciate you so much. If you ever need any media stuff, please reach out to them. Their hashtags and everything that I do. So love you guys. Thank you. Peace out.